Merry Christmas 2025. Yep, here we are, Christmas Day, and I actually got to sleep in. So I guess I really was tired. Well, today I've got a present for you. I'm going to show you um, a glimpse, a preview of the actual Memaw's dining table. We are really making some rapid progress. I'm very pleased. So, today we're going to take a triangle plank and turn it into, I don't know, sliced triangles. How about that? So the first thing we got to do is sand this up just a little bit. I've got some glue showing. I've got a little bit of imperfections in how level it is. Easy to remedy with some 80 grit. So we're going to do that first, and then I'm going to take you over to the miter saw and show you my new jig and slice these little bad boys up. And then comes the real treat. So I'm going to turn the dust collector on. It's going to be a little bit loud. I probably won't talk much, but it won't take long before we head over to the jig. Let's get started. All right. Now on. No power. Be right back. Okay, that's one side. How it's going to work. Let's give it a try. Good. Side three. Now that side was pretty uneven. But I'm only talking like 30 seconds of an inch. But it needs to be as flat and smooth as possible because these sides are going to be glued up in the next glue up step. Last side. Very nice. Let me go turn my dust collector off. Now you'll notice I didn't sand the ends because those are going to be sliced up in our next step. On to the miter saw. Let's go. Okay, so here it is. My miter saw. I've got a brand new 80 tooth fine finish blade on. Chopping my head off, but you don't want to see my head. You're going to want to see this. What I've got here is a jig I made, 2x4s and plywood. I have it screwed to the miter surface. And my intent, my goal here is to put that big triangle plank in and cut it. We push it all the way to here. I've already measured the thickness of the walnut slabs are just over 2 inches, about 2 inches and a 1/16 or so. So that's the width that I've set here between this little fence, and you can see where it cuts. So over here is 2 inches and 2 and 1/16 inches. Man. All right. I've also beveled in here. I don't know if you can see it. That's a 30-degree bevel cut so that I can shove it in there, and that will prevent any kind of pop out because it's essentially wedged in there. This is a little bit wider than the triangle slab so that, I have a little bit of flexibility, but I'll be pushing it up against the fence. And in between each cut, I'm going to blow out the sawdust that falls in here and gets collected, because that will slowly change that width. So it has to be consistent through all cuts. I have intended to get 12 slices out of each plank, and it does work out that way. As I've already done one slab, and you'll see that here in just a minute. So here we go. Dust collector on, and open the dust vent. Let's slice this bad boy up. I don't know if you can hear it, but that's my air compressor feeding on. Here we go. Now the first thing I have to do is square this side up nice and flush. You can see how it's kind of uneven. That's nice and flush. And I'm going to take my time on this. This is a very important step. Put it all the way in there. Cut it again. And there you have it. 2 and 1/16 of an inch. One. I'm taking shallow cuts. I want to make that as clean as possible. Takes a little longer, but I think the end result is better. All right. Came apart. Easy to glue back. All right, that's getting a little too close for my fingers. So I'll use that to hold it in. Okay, sliced triangles. This was left over, so who knows what I can make out of that. Now, you want to see the table? Yeah? All right. Here it comes. Here it is. Memaw's table. Whole lot of work still to be done, but I've laid it out to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. These are the 12 slice triangles from the first triangle plank. Here are the ones that we just cut out of the second triangle plank. And we just put them in place. I'll have to glue that little single one back up on some of these. Okay. Just together a little bit. So there's 2 planks worth. Got 2 more to go. And then we move on to glue up number 5 or 4. Let's think about this. We glued up the mini triangles. That was 1. We glued up triangle logs. That was 2. We glued up triangle planks. That was 3. And this will be 4, where we glue up triangle lines. So let me get my camera. So I got my phone. I wanted to show you some of the differences between plank 1 and plank 2 and how they fit together. This is plank 2. As you can see, it all fits very nicely together. There are some burn marks from the miter saw. That's okay. That'll sand right out. I'd rather take it slow and get a nice cut than to try to push it and maybe get some tear off or whatnot. This is plank 1 over here. And as you can see, there's a significant gap right between those 2 pieces of walnut. And that's because I didn't sand before I went to the miter saw. And it's also because my clamping efforts on slab number 1 met with a lot more difficulty because I hadn't figured out the process right. These will all sand down and they'll fit rather nicely. You'll see that I've labeled each piece with a 1 because these came from slab 1. I will label all of these a 2 for slab 2 because what I want to do low power mode kicked on. What I want to do is mix and match them so that you can't see a distinguishing difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Once I have all 4 slabs sliced into slice triangles, I'll shuffle them all up so that there's more of a uniform look across the whole table. Now, let me show you some things about the walnut slabs that I'm going to have to fix. Okay, so it is 44 inches wide right now. Yeah, just under 44 inches. The ideal table, I looked it up and did a lot of research. The ideal width of an 8-foot table is actually 38 to 40 unless it's you're trying to make a statement. It's called a statement table. And then you can go wider. But the widest that they recommend is about 42 inches. Because while this is going to seat 10 people, if you're sitting here and you're wider than say 42, you might have difficulty reaching things in the middle, while seated. But that's okay. I'm going to have to cut some pieces off anyway, because number one is this big gap right here. I don't know if that broke off at the mill or that was just the edge of the tree trunk as they were cutting it. But this is about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to slice 1.5 inches off of this big piece of walnut. Second issue is this little guy right here. It's a tiny little tear off. But that's okay. I'll take 1/2 inch and I'll cut that off. So that's 2 inches left. I'm down to 42 inches. That's exactly where I want to be. Now the pattern, the triangle pattern, is going to go right down the middle. So once I shave 1/2 inch off of this, this is going to be about 7 inches. I'm going to then rip this thing right in half, 3.5 inches both. Leave one piece here, put one piece over there, and that will shift the triangles right down the middle. I'd love to hear what you think about my plan. Anything I could have done differently, please let me know. One more thing I just noticed is this last board right here is bowed. It's bowed up by about 7/16 of an inch. There's a fix for that. It's what I'm going to call the pucker fix. I'm going to have to cut that big piece of walnut right in half. That will collapse the bow. I'll then recut on both of the sides of the original cut, make it nice and 90 degrees, and put them together. There might still be a little bow there and a little bow there, but we'll see what that looks like, and hopefully it's sandable. If not, I'm going to have to send those through the planer to make them all nice and flat and snug, which is going to lose some thickness. And it also means I'm going to have to plane these other two boards to match the height. And then sand all the triangles down to meet that height. It's all doable. Like I said, I'd love to hear what you think about it. Do you see any part that I might have missed or could have done better? I'd love to hear it. And we'll catch you later. Again, Merry Christmas. See you soon.